And welcome back. Well, working men and women are constantly trying to find the perfect balance between work and family.
Yeah, and many media outlets like TV, movies, magazines often portray what a perfect balance would look like. Or do they? Joining us now to put some perspective on the debate is Ellyn Lem and Tim Dunn. They are both professors at UW-Waukesha. And together they wrote this book, The Work-Family Debate in Popular Culture. And coming up this Friday and Saturday, they'll be just two of dozens of authors participating in the Southeast Wisconsin Festival of Books, and we'll have details on that a little bit later.
Hi, guys.
Because I know both of you are going to be there, particularly talking about your book on Saturday, which is great. Let's talk. You know, we keep saying work-life balance and all this, but what does it really mean? How do you define it?
I think the probably would be having a satisfying work life and having the family life that you want and being able to do both of them. I mean, I think that's what the debate's about. But the question is like whether or not it is possible and what can be done to change it. I think most of us agree that if we have a balance, it's really tentative, like we're barely holding it together. And we think that one of the things that we talk about in the book is the way in which popular culture could do a better job showing us examples of how one can have the career that a person wants, but also have family life. And we also feel that companies could do a better job making it possible, having more on-site daycare, giving people more flexibility in their jobs.
Yeah, so people are kind of getting there. We're moving forward. Before we get to some of the pop culture references, when you talk about work-life balance, Molly brought up that great article we talked about in chat, and it's, is it, in your opinion, is it a women's issue? Is it a men's issue? Is it a family issue? Where does the work-life balance sort of populate itself?
Well, I think it affects women and men. It's often framed as a women's issue, but men too, would like more time to spend with their families, just more leisure time. I think a lot of companies just provide just a paltry amount of sick leave and vacation time. My sister works for a company that has like 10 or 15 days for the year, right? And it takes years to accrue additional time. So, and it's not just about families also. I mean, it's, people want to spend more time just to themselves, not only with their families, but because I'm single, but I worry about, work-life balance also.
Yeah, you need to recharge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true. I do think that it's not just a women's issue, it is a family issue, but I do think that women, because I read a study once that I really agree with, that women spend a majority of their workday feeling guilty or having their mind at least on their kids and what are they doing and worrying about things and schedules, where men report feeling a lot less of that worry and that concern and that constant, that thinking. I think that's the reality of it in most cases.
Oh, definitely. And there was a study that showed that women are like happiest when they're at work and men are sometimes happier when they're home, and it's because when women are at work they're actually thinking about, when they're at work they have a little bit of reprieve, but when they're home they're completely on task. And for men, when they're home it is leisure. Both places can possibly be a site of leisure, and so I just thought that really stood out. But you're right that even though things are changing, men are definitely doing more, and there is evidence of that they are spending more time a week with children. There still seems to be that women feel like it's their responsibility. There's a study too that between dual earning couples, when a child wakes up in the middle of the night, 3 times more likely like a woman is going to get up with the child, and so they have taken these messages, it's my responsibility, and that's part of one of the things we want to bring out in the book is to open it up, and that this is really these are family issues that pertain to both, and that we want to kind of make it no longer just a woman's issue.
Yeah. Well, some of my friends who are the happiest with young children are the ones where the father or their husband gets up in the middle of the night with the kid and allows them to sleep, and they've really worked this sort of balance out. But I think that's that's tough. What are some of these pop culture references that you're talking about, especially shows? We like to think, oh, these shows are portraying the ideal. Are they?
Well, I think they're making progress. Like in one of our chapter on dads, I use the example from Adventure Time, which is most probably the first people to ever written about it in a scholarly book. But in it, there's this and it's funny that my children tell me about these references. So a lot of our references are ones that they've included, and so there is a character there's called Jake, and he takes care of his babies, and it's a really moving episode where he is really worried about their care, and he reads this book about someone has left him a book about how to take care of your kids. At some point, he just like throws the book out because he realizes, like, you know, which many mothers have had that same experience. Like, you know, what I need to know is not in this book, so you know, he throws it out. And I think that that's really helpful to get these pop culture references, a way of, instead of looking at men always as the breadwinner, you know, that's what that's sort of problematic, and to have more images of men as nurturers, because they need to see that like they're good, because there's too many references of men being incompetent, like I can't find the cheese in the grocery store, and then it gives the message to men like, oh, I'm incapable, and then women are like, I can't trust him. So
I think it's interesting, and even the questions in some of the books, like, I don't know how she does it, can women really have it all? I know, and in your title of your book as well, can women and men have it all? I mean, it's kind of like this age-old question. What about shows like Breaking Bad? What did they say from a pulp culture standpoint about work-life balance?
Right, there's a lot of shows that portray men as sort of driven by this need to be the breadwinner. If you know the show, you know, Walt White gets into the crystal meth cooking business because he learns that he's dying and he wants to provide for his family. And that theme is, you know, reinforced throughout the series, and no one ever questions, well, of course, you know, and in fact he's a sympathetic character to an extent. Of course he breaks bad and does a lot of bad things, but we sort of sympathize with him and we want him to succeed. And you know, his wife is a perfectly capable and, you know, a professional woman with an accounting background. She could provide for them as well, but it's sort of never really, you know, an issue for them. So, you know, that's just one example of shows that reinforce this idea that men have to literally kill themselves in order to provide for their families.
And in the process, maybe wrecking their marriage and hurting their family at the cost of it all. You know, people can meet you guys at the Southeast Wisconsin Festival of Books. It's going on the 7th and the 8th. It's at the University of Wisconsin-Waukesha. You can find out more about your book as well as the other authors and people who will be there at sewibookfest.com. I think it's just a great point of discussion that so many people, I mean, we could go on for hours. I feel like we barely got to the tip of the surface here. So thank you guys for being here.
Thank you very much for
having us. It's an important debate. Thanks to both of you.